everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Polywine, where we like to take a deep dive into stories pulled from the media and have a fun time while breaking it down. I'm Jillian, and let's get into it. So let's just jump right into the story that's kind of taken all the headlines on every media outlet, and that is the security breach of war plans and plan of action of our military that was accidentally leaked to a journalist as he was added to a text thread through our highest ranking intelligence officials in our government. And they were explaining a plan of action of what they wanted to do with the Houthis in Yemen. Well, here they are given a play-by-play on this text thread, and they accidentally invited a very well-respected journalist, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg. And the irony of him receiving this invitation for this text thread it's really unbelievable. And he said the same thing in his interviews. He was invited to this text thread. Of course, he accepted. He was like, sure, why not? And he said, this is Jeffrey Goldberg, that he was sitting in his car reading this text thread live, what looked of military plan actions. And he said he actually thought he was being spoofed. He was being pranked. He didn't think it was real until he turned on the news and saw that these plans were happening live, that the first dropped on a target in this location. And he was like, it was unbelievable. I could not believe it. This is Goldberg in his interviews, and I'm just kind of putting it together here. But he was just like, I couldn't believe that I was included in this text thread that's supposed to be highly classified, highly confidential, and extremely exclusive to only these high-ranking individuals. And here I am, a journalist included in this sensitive material, and I'm getting the play-by-play. And as a journalist, first of all, after the gravity of just what happened settles in, you must think, wow, how often does a story literally just fall in my lap? Something this juicy just kind of fall right into my lap, and I have the evidence, I have the proof, and of course, as a journalist, he released the article about it, and he released that, hey, I received these war plans or military plan of action, whatever you choose to call it. And it seems like it's pretty sensitive and highly classified. And that seems like a serious security breach. It seems like that's a major problem. And isn't that putting our military at risk? Because these seem to be live actions. And if this was intercepted, any of these things were hacked, this could be extremely problematic for our military serving. Absolutely. And of course, once it's been released and the House Committee of Intelligence, they, of course, immediately called in the heads of officials of intelligence to kind of get an understanding of what went wrong and where the hell was this breakdown and how could this happen, and to make sure this does not happen again. First of all, they were using, an encrypted app, but they were using an app called Signal. It's supposed to be encrypted, and I don't know. They said it was approved. That seems highly sketchy. I believe our government has clear rules about what is secure. I think they have their own systems, apps, servers, whatever you want to use, call it, or whatever, to secure the privacy of our highest ranking officials in defense and intelligence and military. So there is no opportunity or of a hacking, interception, any type of anything happening to the security. And oopsie, we literally sent it to a journalist. And of course, when the House Intelligence Committee brought in all the the heads of the intelligence. They denied, deferred the question, denied again. And respectfully, the journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg, said, look, because of the sensitivity of this information, I really don't want to just put it out there for the world to see, like our military information, our actions, our plan. Well, once our head officials of intelligence denied, and lied, essentially, which I do truly question if it will come back if they perjure themselves under oath. Okay? On the House floor. Just curiosity. I am not a legal mind, but there seems like there might be some perjury there because, well, after they denied, said there's nothing classified, there's nothing sensitive of any information that would put at risk our military, our soldiers, our defense, nothing. There is nothing sensitive. There's no times, there's no timestamps. There's, none of that. Well, Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, said, okay, if that's what you're going to say, because they, of course, went on the defensive and then started attacking him. So he then released the full thread of text. I read a lot of them. And it is pretty clear. You could see who was attached on that text thread. You could see what they were saying. First of all, embarrassing and slightly repulsive what was coming out in this text. So you should be embarrassed, all of you. And the level of stupidity and negligence of this group. And now that we know who was officially on that text thread, because they were denying it, like the initials for, TG and MAR and VD and, for all of our head officials like Vice President, Secretary of State, and Secretary of Defense, Director of Intelligence, they were clearly on there. They didn't want to, admit that they were on this major mess up thread. And they had to eventually come out and own it because it's obvious. So I don't understand how they could even use this, how that was even approved. Do we remember the Hillary Clinton email scandals because she had that on a private server? Do we not remember back in the day that there was a big huff and puff about Barack Obama having to give up his BlackBerry, if anybody remembers what a BlackBerry is, back in the day because they didn't feel that was secure. So, these have been issues before and immediately taken care of. Comey, about the emails, are you listening? But this is so much worse. This is a grand scale of fuckery. I don't know how anybody could keep their job after that. I'm sure that they probably will. They'll probably get a pass. This is what happens when our intelligence tells you during the vetting process of all those who just passed the Senate hearings, okay, that were on this text thread. They told you, this is our intelligence, said they were concerned certain individuals even be nominated, and they were concerned about some of them could be compromised, and they were truly questioning if they had the capability to even handle such a position. And I got to tell you, this is my opinion. Okay. When you look at some of these people, and some of these people have a very good education, you look at them, especially in some of the guys, you're just like, oh my God, is this the fraternity of those guys that just get away with everything and just skate through life and just really aren't that smart? Some of them are actually smart on those check strains. But some of them, like, and I'm kind of thinking of Hegseth. Like, I don't know the guy, never met the guy. I only know what I've recently have discovered him coming out in the world of politics. And this guy reminds me of a guy that you run into at a college fraternity party. You're like, oh my God, he's just sloppy and just kind of gross. Avoid that guy. And I was having a conversation about it the other day, and I'm like, this guy kind of reminds me, I'm talking about Hegseth, kind of reminds me of the guy that one of your elder family members, like your mother, your grandmother, and I'm thinking more my grandmother would be like, you need to avoid that guy. That guy is all kinds of stupid. And that level of stupid will rub off on you and take you down. And need I say more? And we need to not forget during his confirmation hearing, okay, he's known to be a huge partier, known to be a huge, huge drinker. Not judging. But I was even laughing. I'm like, when he was sending the original text messages out, prepping for the meeting, I'm like, do you think he was doing that with like one eye open? Oh, on a weekend? Like that's kind of the feeling that I was getting for some of those text messages, the early text messages. But then, just the next, it's just, I mean, it is just the level of stupidity and just the unwillingness to own a major, major screw up. At least Marco Rubio, who I got to tell you, not a fan of Marco Rubio, but at least he's like, yes, I was on it. He liked to distance himself as quickly as he could. He's like, although I only had 2 times I chatted in and they were pretty general. So Marco, you might be okay in this situation. Maybe, because everybody else is right in the crosshairs for the House Intelligence Committee. You were also in the lines of the Democrats. Like, all eyes are on you. And I got to tell you, it's a problem. And you can just say it's not an issue. It wasn't sensitive material. It was. You might feel differently if that was your loved one fulfilling that plan. So you might feel different if that was your loved one up there and that could have been compromised and their well-being could have been jeopardized. So you might feel differently about that. So please stop dismissing, saying it wasn't sensitive, it wasn't classified. Classified or not, those are our men and women fighting for us on that day. And you put them at risk. I don't care what you say. You can deny it, deflect, whatever. You know you did. And somebody needs to own that. But going back to Rubio's like, that was a huge screw up. It was a mess up. I don't know how a journalist was invited on that text thread. He was like, no offense to journalists, but you shouldn't have been on there. And I don't know how Walt still has a job because he even admitted he was the only one that said it was my fault. Okay. But then other people say, I don't know if it was Walt. I think it was a staffer underneath a staffer. You're going to go after the younger guy? Come on. I have a kid. And he always jokes around with technology. He's like, this is what happens when old people use technology. He says that to me just to get under my skin and just kind of piss me off a little bit. And it's effective. It's effective. I'm like, stop it. But in this situation, as soon as this came out, that's the first thing that popped in my head. I'm like, all right, these are the situations when old people use modern technology and it goes very, very wrong. Look, we've all done it. We've all accidentally texted the wrong person. We've all accidentally included or not included somebody in a text thread. And this is why we teach our children nothing good ever comes from a text thread, a text chain. There's just too many people involved and it can go in many directions. So there is nothing good that comes out of a text chain. And let me ask you this. If I have to be on camera during a meeting, a conference call, if I have to have my camera on to check in, why doesn't our highest ranking officials need to be on camera showing each other that they have full attention at the situation that is happening in real time? So I don't understand. I don't understand. So if I have to do this for a ridiculous meeting or even a telehealth check-in, okay, why does our highest ranking officials in our government not have to do the same? But yet they can just sit there and text and send emojis to each other. Fist bump, fire, flag. Yeah, I read the text messages and it is not looking good. I'm going to be highly upset if someone is not fired for this. Someone has to feel the heat from this one because this is a major, major screw up. Classified or not classified. This is sensitive material. Our loved ones are putting their lives on the line to secure us as a nation. And you're just putting all that information on blast. And now that it is on the global stage, that we are this inexperienced, this unprepared, and just this level of stupid, yeah, channeling my grandmother here, then I can guarantee you they're going to be listening from here on out very closely because it just takes once, just once. And I hope that the rest of the intelligence community is recognizing this screw up and really working quadruple time to correct it and put extra securities in place for this to never happen again. This is our problem as a whole. So let's just not forget that. Okay. This really bothers me. And I feel like there is going to be no consequences for anyone. Walt's the only one that said, I'm the one that set up the text chain. I don't know how I accidentally invited this journalist. I did. That was my fault. That was my screw up. I do not understand why this man still has a job. And look, I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that there are laws in order to prevent this. But I'm sure that there are plenty of attorneys looking into this now because there feels like there are some major rules, maybe laws that have been violated in this exchange here. So I'm sure there'll be more to come about this fallout. But what a security breach, and please let's get this checked. So in the world of politics, that's just the start of it. I mean, yesterday you had the news, you had the hearings, you had the White House correspondents in the White House press room that just going nuts and just what a scene. Then you had the speech about the tariffs. Then you had Marco Rubio come out. Then you had Hegseth's speech from Hawaii. I mean, it was just the news circuit yesterday was just insane. And I was just kind of like licking it up. It was just crazy, crazy, crazy to me. Speaking of breaches, there is another story that has come out in the news. Are you familiar with this DNA genetic testing company called 23andMe? It's been around for, I believe, about 20 years. It's huge. I mean, I know people would get these gifts for Christmas gifts, for birthdays, reunions, about these 23andMe kits. And what it was a DNA sequencing genetic testing service where you'd get a kit, you'd swab the inside of your mouth, you would send in this swab, and this company would produce the results, analyze it, and give you some idea of your genetic background, your bioidentity, right? So it'd give you your heredity. And if you had any predispositions to any conditions or diseases, if you had any genetic disorders or, a myriad of things that these results could tell you about your genetic code. And really a fascinating thing. And millions of users at one time, its net worth of the company was huge. Well, the company has just recently declared bankruptcy. And they have released a statement that they are going to start, as now that they have declared bankruptcy, they're going to start selling their assets. And in selling the assets, until the sales are final, they don't want to do anything yet. They want to still keep the integrity of the security of their company, which is like some of the other stories we've just recently talked about. But until it is sold, and the day that it is sold, your information, if you have used this company for any of your genetic testing, could be sold to any party, any third party. So that is a concern for many people. So the advice is to go to 23andMe's website, ask them to delete it or see if you discard it in any way. But please, if you have any information or have ever used this company for anything, or even a family member, your information may be in there through another family member, through their testing. So if you have used it, or if you know a friend or family member, please spread this story, let them know. Please go to their website, please access your account and obtain your information and ask them to delete it if they can, or do whatever you can to access that information for yourself. You do not want your bio identity sold off to anyone else. That is your personal information and you cannot get that information back. Okay, so let's off to another story, into the world of sports. Last week, we mourned the passing of a sports legend, icon in the boxing world, George Foreman. He was an Olympic gold medalist. He was a he had a boxing world title. I love, as we talk about all the time on this podcast, we love documentaries. This is an oldie but goodie, Rumble in the Jungle. What a great sports documentary. And God, it had to be like over 20 years ago that I saw this, because I want to say it was probably, I don't know, could have been CD, I want to say it's probably Blu-ray, but it may have even been on VHS. Like, this was like early 2000s. I was watching that documentary with a friend of mine, and I will never forget this one scene that really stuck out to me in that documentary, Rumble in the Jungle. And that was leading up to the epic match between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. Well, right before that fight took place, the men had to go warm up on the boxing bag, just kind of warm up their muscles, get ready to go out to the ring, right? Just kind of get themselves warmed up. Leading up to this fight, I mean, George Foreman, that guy was massive. He's huge. And Muhammad Ali was doubting himself a little bit. And you could see a little bit of the internal struggle in Muhammad Ali in this documentary leading up to it. Like, he would never admit that he was truly questioning himself, but you could see that he really was. There was a little bit of doubt and concern that he might not come out on top on this fight. Well, in the scene, George Foreman, getting ready to go out to the ring, ready to prepare for this fight, goes up to the boxing bag first. It looks like he's barely touching it. And just the scale of him, because he's huge, standing next to the bag is just, that alone is going to be intimidating. But he just looks like he's barely putting any effort into punching these bags. He's, just stretching his muscles, stuff like that. Well, he walks away after a few moments of that, and there is a massive indentation, full dent in that warm-up bag. It looked like somebody threw like a car into it. It just, boom. George Foreman walks away. And a minute later, you see Muhammad Ali walk up to that bag with that dent in it. And you just see him staring at it like, oh my God, that's who I'm up against. And in an epic turn of events, Muhammad Ali actually ended up winning that fight. Incredible fight. I mean, that scene right there just showed you the power of that man. But, I, growing up, had a very different version of him. Like, I knew the advertising mogul of George Foreman, and that was the grill master, the George Foreman grills. It really was the absolute staple of every college freshman of my generation, or anybody who was just starting out on their own. Everyone got a George Foreman grill. The grease slid off, remember? But everyone had one, and then there was these different versions. And I was reading that he was saying that he made, now this was in some of the interviews. Now, how true this is, I am not 100% sure. I wouldn't surprise it, because, I mean, do they still make George Foreman grills? They might still make them. And I'm sure if they do still make them, I wonder if there was a surge in sales in the last week or so. But he was saying that he made over $200 million off those grills. Now, he just endorsed it. Yeah. He was a spokesperson for it. $200 million. Wow, George. I guess you're going to have to do something like that, because didn't he have like 11 kids and named almost all of them George? I mean, that's a man with confidence right there. I'm going to have a ton of kids, and I'm going to name them all George. Now, there are a little bit of variations in the George. I think there was a Georgia, a Georgette, Georgina, I think there was, but there's a version of George in all of it, which is amazing. But what a legend, though. The world of sports and boxing lost another just incredible legend. But I wonder what his thoughts were about the Mike Tyson fight, because George Foreman actually went back into the ring at 45. So it was kind of a similar situation as what Mike Tyson and Jake Paul had. But Tyson was 55, right? I think somewhere around there. But Foreman was 45 and ended up doing really well. So different situation. That guy was still huge, but I remember that too. So the sports world definitely lost another legend, but we were so thankful to have him, and he was one of the greats, and we will talk about him to this day. So George Foreman, you will be missed. And moving on to another story, and I have to tell you, I feel like we have talked so much about, fires, hurricanes, tornadoes. Mother Nature is on a war path this year. Climate change is just really accelerating everything. The new prediction for the hurricane season has just been released for the East Coast, and they're expecting definitely high numbers of hurricanes coming out of the Atlantic this year due to the warm temperatures in the water. To be expected. The weather's just been unpredictable. But not only that, let's just go back to the Carolinas. Following Hurricane Helene, remember Asheville really they got hit hard. Following the hurricanes, they had a lot of flooding due to the rains. When I'm talking about massive flooding that wiped out half the town of Asheville, just massive destruction with the mudslides. Well, this area is getting it again, but not from hurricanes or from rain, but from fire. So wildfires are spreading out all over North Carolina and in South Carolina. I mean, pretty devastating. There are multiple wildfires around the Asheville area. There's a huge fire that's been spreading right in the South Carolina area and right along the river. And it is really hard to see because a lot of this is being fueled by, first of all, they had very little rain. I think I was reading that they were 4 inches below the average water level this year. So there's that. And with the massive mudslides and devastation that they had last year. So you have all these downed trees that are dead and with the lack of rain. So these are perfect conditions for just a flame to set everything ablaze. And that's exactly what's happening. So either trying to contain it, but this area is just getting hit back to back to back. So Asheville, our hearts go out to you. You've just really, really have been going through it in this last year. And you just hit the 6-month anniversary of that devastation from Hurricane Helene. And then these wildfires to be coming right on the back of that is just so sad. So keep your thoughts to the people in the Carolinas. They definitely need it. It's just one thing after another after another. So let's get on to some happier topics and let's go over to our world of entertainment. Yes, White Lotus. Yes, I am loving you this season. And I'm just going to keep this one brief because I always talk about White Lotus, but I love it. I love this season. I'm enjoying the characters. Why did we have to go into the whole brothers family scene? Okay. They were giving a little bit of clues leading into, there was some weirdness between the brothers, but I don't think we had to go in that direction. Okay. I was just like, no, why are we doing that? Please don't do that. And they did. They went there. And thank goodness they're only fragmented memories by Saxton, but I'm just as disturbed as he is, and it's weird. So I'm curious how this is going to play out and how this is going to change their relationship forever, because it's definitely going to change their relationship, if not temporary, I'm sure forever. But I enjoyed this season. This season is so good. The cattiness between the girls. I love how that's come to a head. The Ratcliffe family, Rick. I am loving this season. So White Lotus season 3, slightly disturbed with the brother interactions this past episode. We didn't need to go there, but you went there and it's still good. I'm still going to be watching, but still good. Now, I have to get in to Beverly Hills and the Bravo universe. There's been so much coming out in the Bravo universe. I can't go through it all in one day. There's just going to have to come back for more. But let's just go straight up to the Beverly Hills, right? Beverly Hills, we had the season finale this past week, and it was a good one. They were in St. Lucia, and I love St. Lucia. St. Lucia is so beautiful. Been there, love it, love the people there, gorgeous. I love the costumes. I love the carnival. Bones, you really outdid yourself with the planning. I don't know if Nico came up with some of these ideas. I don't know if this was all your years of experience in the corporate world trying to, plan these events. Well done. I don't know. I have no idea, especially when Jennifer Tilly, they were at the carnival and Jennifer Tilly's, how much is these beads? And they're like, zero. She's like, zero. Like, I mean, is that all paid for? Like, I have so many questions, but well done. Excellently executed. Well done. Nico, still love you, Nico. That man was working overtime and he deserves to be almost, I think, Avi, Nico definitely should be a friend of. And what was Kathy Hilton's side girl that helped? You saw her in the beginning setting up for the parties. I like her too. They should have a spinoff. The assistants to the housewives, they should have a spinoff show. Just like, or like, how they have the Have to show on Peacock? They should have that of the assistants just talking about what their day is like, where they help the housewives get, what you see on TV, if they have like a party or they have an event or something like that, those assistants were working their tail off to make that happen. And I would be curious and very much into a show, like I said, like an after show, just a short little thing on Peacock, where you have the assistants talking about what they had to do to execute that. I think that would be a really good show. I would really like that. I think that would be good. But Nico, Avi worked so hard this episode. And then with the scene where Bogues and Sutton go talk and they're making the chocolate so they can just kind of have a private conversation. And she's like, where's Avi? I need Avi to do this. And you have Avi at the hotel going, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want an Avi or a Nico. I'm saying they are just incredible and I adore them. And they work really hard, you can tell. And they really have become part of the family to like Bose and Sutton, and they just have a really great flow. So I really like them. But I think this was just a great cast trip. Can I just get into the fact that Kathy Hilton, I have really enjoyed Kathy Hilton throughout this entire season. She's kind of coming. She's right foot in, right foot out throughout this season. She really hasn't said a lot, but what she has, I think, has been very memorable. And she's just, her kookiness, God, I love it. And it's just on display. And the editors really lean into it. Like the people who do the editing of the show really lean into it, because all you kept seeing is like her routine of the skincare this episode, which, look, that woman's skin looks like porcelain. So whatever she's doing is working. Don't judge. I am not judging. I want to know. I'm questioning. You look great, Kathy. You look great. But I love her kookiness. But she, to me, she's so quiet. But when she is, she's very giving, loving, understanding. Like, she was really trying to calm Sutton down this episode because Sutton was really on edge. She was trying to really be there for Dorit during that girls' lunching when Dorit was really just kind of spilling all the tea about PK and the 7-page email she received about that. And she also had the trip to was it Oceanside, trying to bring the girls together. So I like the bringing together Kathy. I'm enjoying that Kathy, the party going, the Kathy wants to hang out and socialize. Kathy looks freaking traumatized this season. Does she not? Is it me? Is it me? Am I looking too hard into it? But Kathy, to me, looked traumatized this entire trip. I love that she's like, I'm not getting into the fuss. It is hot as shit here in the Caribbean. I'm not getting to tons of glam. I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts. Like when she was getting ready, like, what are you wearing, Kathy? When they were all going out for the dinner party, she's like, t-shirt and shorts. Okay. I'm hot. And then when she's putting like the ice bags under, like, I can appreciate all of this. She's crazy. Yes. Love it. Freaking love it. It is delicious. It is, I don't know. It is like a little sweet little bit of dessert nibbles for me. I just love it so much. I love Kathy, but she seems a little traumatized this season. So I hope we get into that in the reunion. Kathy, why so reserved this season? Are you trying to come in on the softer side considering what happened several years ago with you and Kyle coming off a little harsh? I don't know. Can we get to two things that came out this episode? Okay. At the end, look, there was a great episode. We had dinner parties. We had arguments. Sutton, as much as I am huge team Sutton, I love you. I think you are fantastic and amazing. You didn't really come off that likable this season. You came off to me a little unstable emotionally. Although I'm here for it and I kind of got your back, like Garcelle and Jennifer Tilly. Love Jennifer Tilly. It was a bit hard to watch at times this season. Sometimes perfection. Other times it was a little cringy, and I agree with a lot of the other castmates with a couple of comments like my wallet. So putting that aside, you also had some pretty stellar moments this season. But I hope you take some time after reunion, really look back and maybe course correct and come back better. I hope so. I like you, but I think you're going to get a lot of backlash. Now, Erica, it's still going on with Kyle. Nothing new there. Bose, I've loved you this season. I think you were a fantastic addition. Dorit, still not getting a lot with PK, although I think the divorce is going on. I'm just kind of wrapping up the season for you. Kathy, come back to us, Kathy. Mwah, I miss you. So good, but I need a little bit more from you. Just because I want more from you, Kathy. I just kind of love it so much. But big news. The duo that I always liked, Garcelle. Garcelle, I actually thought you had a pretty decent season. You didn't bring a lot, but I thought you had a relatively decent season. Garcelle became frazzled, and during the taping of the reunion, walked off the stage and walked off the cast and announced that she was leaving the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I didn't see that coming, actually. Look, I've enjoyed the 5-season Garcelle's been on. I can see how Garcelle felt this season like she was put on the side burner. You were really, really busy. You have your production company and you are killing it there. And it is, for any woman of a particular age, it is truly inspirational to watch you where you are at this point in your life and at the height of your career. You are directing movies, you're acting in movies, and in the entertainment industry, for any woman over a particular age, which is a young age, it is hard. You get capped out at a very young age, and it is hard to rebound. And to see how you are really rising to the top at this time it's an inspiration. It really is. And I really have enjoyed watching this story for you. I really appreciate it. And I'm sad to see you walk away at this time. Maybe you feel like you're being pulled in many different directions. Maybe you felt like you were pushed off her because Sutton was very much trying to get in the good graces of Kyle. It was, that whole thing was weird. I didn't like watching that at all. It seemed a little sad to me. So I can understand you felt a little betrayed and a little, hey, I've been sticking up and putting my neck on the line for you for years, and you're giving me nothing. I can understand that frustration with Sutton, but I'm sad to see you walk away. I really am sad to see you walk away. I think there was a lot more for you, but the fact that you left on your own terms, I hope that you will come back at a later time. You know, maybe you'll get invited back. I hope so. I liked you, but you walked off on your own too. You weren't asked to leave. You weren't put on pause. You left. So, and I saw you on Watch What Happens Lives with Andy the other day with Leslie Bibb from the White Lotus, which was a really fun interview. It seems like you and Andy are still good. So maybe there'll be another time for you on Beverly Hills or at least somewhere else in the Bravo world. Now, Let's get over to Erica. Erica Jane. Erica Jane, you've had a very chill season. So it's nice to see you at the end kind of get your clothes back out. And she was really catty during this cast trip to Sutton at the end. I understand. They have a history, there's frustration. There's a lot of comments and a lot of unsettled feelings between Dorit, Erica, and Sutton. Okay. So, of course, Erica and Dorit are frustrated with Sutton, and Sutton's, with them. So, of course, those two are sticking together. So, of course, you could see her getting catty on this trip because they're so done with Sutton at the end of the season. So they're just done and they're over it. So there. But at the end of this episode, they go through the closing credits and the closing, where are they now since the season's wrapped? What is each cast member doing? Well, they close that off, and then a month later, and then you have Erica and Kyle talking over, I don't know, tea. And the verdict came in about Tom Girardi's case, about the embezzlement case. And found guilty. He was found guilty and convicted of, I think it's 80 years or something like that. Okay? Just something like that. Okay? I'm not 100%, but something to that effect. I'm not going to, we talked about this case at an earlier time. Go to Bravo Docket if you want all the details. Those two girls are amazing. They'll break it down really well for you. But, so he was sentenced 80 years or something like that. And Erica kept saying 80 years. That man doesn't have 80 days. And I just kept thinking in my head, do you remember years ago when the divorce was happening and suddenly Tom, who was fine, suddenly now has Alzheimer's and the full thick of dementia. Not questioning the diagnosis. I didn't have to. The judge did. And so he couldn't stand trial because he had dementia and he was living in an assisted living facility. And they were kind of giving Erica a hard time because he went from this place, a high-ranking attorney, and suddenly now that there's this scandal, suddenly now he's in an assisted living facility and incompetent. And she's like, he's gone. There's nothing there. He doesn't even know my name or recognize me. I was thinking in a montage in my head. Does it remember, Crystal years ago was like, look, I understand if that's what the diagnosis is. I'm not here to question it. She's like, but my father had Alzheimer's and he ended up dying from complications from that. Look, your husband or soon to be ex-husband's been in this facility and had this condition for quite some time now. So look, I'm not an expert, but I've definitely have gone through this with my family member, a very close loved one. And this seems like a pretty prolonged condition for it to be this extreme. So something's odd to me in this situation. And so he's still there. And let's not forget, when the judge came, I'm just coming together. I'm just giving you some basic details there. Now, right before this went back to judge, the case went to trial. They were questioning the competency of Tom Girardi if he could actually stand trial. Well, the judge reviewed the information and the medical stuff and said, no, he is competent to stand trial. I see him, I'm paraphrasing because this is what I was reading in articles, because some of the people were saying he was actually giving legal advice to his team in court. So maybe that is what prompted the judge to say, I think you're quite competent to stand trial. So he was found competent to stand trial. He went to trial and was found guilty. So, and sentenced. So that's what Erica and Kyle were talking about. So when she just kept saying 80 years, he doesn't have 80 days. You'd hear the rickshaw. Let me just, hats off to the editor of this show. So good. And then Kyle said, well, who was his attorney? And Erica says public defenders. And there was a very clear drum rickshaw by whoever was in editing. And I was like, what does that mean? Is that just a full diss on public defenders? Or is there something more I don't know and I missed in an article? I need to know what's more behind that. And I'm sure that will come out, I'm sure, in the reunion. So that is where we left off in the finale. They closed out in St. Lucia. They had an incredible time on the Caribbean trip. Beautiful. I love the carnival theme. I love the whole carnival party. That was all awesome. Bose, great trip. I am very excited to see the reunion. I want to know if really anything comes down. Dorit's like, it's all going to be out there. Let's see. Bring on the reunion. Now, I want to follow one other thing up with Miss Erica Jane. And I'm going to call this like I'm calling out, my case and verdict in the game of Clue. This is who I say it is. I have never watched this show before, but it was on in the background last night when I was doing something. And it's that show, The Masked Singer. I've never seen it. I had no idea what was going on. I don't know. I was just trying to figure it out as it went along. But there was this one character that came out, and it was the Yorkie. Was it Yorkie Pup? Really cute. Super, super cute. It was a Yorkie dog with sunglasses and ponytails, and the person got out there and sang. Now, I am going to call it. I am going to call it today because they give a little story about who it is and kind of drop some clues, but they distort the voice so you don't know. There was a diamond. Okay, I saw that. There was a diamond in the clue and some other stuff. Now, the diamond was the only thing that got me. But when I heard the voice, I'm like, that is Erica Jane. That is Erica Girardi, a.k.a. Erica Jane, as Yorkie Pup. I think it's Yorkie Pup, Yorkie Dog, whatever it is. It's Erica Jane. I'm on The Masked Singer. I'm calling it today. Erica Jane is the Yorkie Dog. Could I be wrong? Could totally be wrong. But I think it sounded like her. And I think it had I can't believe I saw that. I've never seen it before, but that's my call. And whoever was the other one with whoever ever said that country song, that guy's voice was unbelievable. Oh my God. Oh my God. What an incredible voice. That's the only time I've ever seen the show. Probably might not see it again, but I might want to tune in again to see, is that Erica Jane? Yorkie Pup. Erica Jane, that's what I'm calling it. So, another Bravo celebrity who's kind of making it back into the news. I can't believe it. Teresa Giudice. Whatever you want to call yourself today. Back in the news, more tax problems. We told you. There's nothing going to come out good when it comes to Louis. Everybody warned you about Louis. I still want to go back to that scene that was edited out last season when she was storming off and she was like, my money, my money, my money. And they clipped it out. Is it going to come back this season? Because everyone warned you about Louis. You were willing to totally go after your brother when it came to Louis, just like you did when it came to Joe, Juicy Joe. And it's not looking good. More tax problems. So Teresa, but Teresa, once was bad, twice, girl. First time, shame on them. Second time, shame on you, Teresa. And that Bravo Love Hotel will be coming out very soon, just a few weeks. We're gonna have Giselle from Potomac, Shannon Medore, Luann. I miss you, Luann. Miss Queen of Cabaret. She's going to be there. I am excited. Bring back some of our Bravo darlings. Get them into a dating scene. I think it's going to be good. I think that's going to be a great one. I'm really still missing the Ultimate Girls Trip. But if we can't have that, because of all the other legal stuff that's coming out from trip to Morocco, I'm fine with the Love Hotel. So bring on the Love Hotel. Well, that's all for us today on Polywine. Thank you so much for being with us. It has been a blast. So please follow Polywine on Instagram at PolyWineTime. And please follow, like, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast on your feed. Thanks so much for being with us today and have a great day. See you next time. Bye.